If you are registered to vote in the United States, your personal information has almost definitely just been leaked. It was reported yesterday that the personal data of 198 million American voters has been compromised. That is roughly how many people are registered to vote in the United States. The information covers about 61% of the US population. This is almost every voter, and this was the largest known leak of voter records in history. But hold on a second, that Hillary Clinton email server something should be more relevant than a Republican data analytics firm called Deep Root Analytics leaking this information. And leak may not even be the right word here, because basically they were storing all this data, this Republican analytics firm. They were storing all this data of everyone's voter information on an unsecured server. Doesn't exactly sound responsible to me, Pat, when it didn't even need to be hacked. It was basically stored there, available to someone who knew what they were looking for.
Yeah, and after the DNC and the DCCC were hacked, there was a lot of people who said that the onus was really on them.
That's right.
Because they didn't do enough to secure their servers. I guess, this can happen to any private organization, right-wing ones included.
So it would seem. And the information in the database includes name, date of birth, home address, phone number, ethnicity, religion, occupation, elections that you voted in, information about who you would be likely to vote for, stances on particular issues, maybe from survey data or elsewhere. Really just a ton of information and analytics, everything except for who you voted for, since that is not public information. Where do they get this information? Well, it comes from a range of data sources, everything from donor history during elections to magazine subscriptions to other consumer behavior that is available in databases. Companies you do business with sell this information. And to be clear, this is not, by and large, confidential information. It's arguably sensitive. Altogether, it really paints a pretty specific picture of who you are. But a lot of this can be compiled by anybody if you spend enough time. Like, for example, in North Carolina, there's a website where you can really just look up voter registrations, and that can start to put a picture together. Then you can cross-reference that with addresses and build a geographical profile. You can use social media and what's publicly available to build a social profile, et cetera, et cetera. And that is exactly what this Republican analytics firm, Deep Root, did. Now, Alex Lundry, who's a co-founder of the company, has put out a statement where he says, in part, Deep Root Analytics has become aware that a number of files within our online storage system were accessed without our knowledge. Since this event has come to our attention, we have updated the access settings and put protocols in place to prevent further access. Well, that's great. Now that every voter's information almost has leaked or been accessed, now they're going to take it really seriously. And aside from the disturbing nature of a leak like this, many people are probably hearing me talk about this, Pat, and didn't even realize that databases like this even exist, but they do. Democrats and Republicans work with data firms and market researchers and analytics providers to use big data to target voters. If you find out about this, how could you possibly not be worried about the attack on net neutrality, the recent Republican bill which will allow your internet service provider to sell your browsing history to advertisers? How could anyone, even to begin with, think that that's an okay idea? But especially after you learn about the existence of databases like this, how could you be okay with what Republicans are opting to allow ISPs to do with our data?
Right, and we've known this for a long time, that if you're registered to vote, that your information is out there somewhere.
Yes.
That's why around election season, some people get calls all the time, while other people don't really get calls. But I think this would be a gold mine for, say, private investigators or advertisers looking to appeal to a specific audience.
No doubt about it. This is exactly the type of database that can be used not only for political targeting, but it can also be used for manipulative techniques to sell products or to influence public opinion. And we've talked about the many ways in which big data can be used to those ends. And this should make us significantly more concerned about all of what we're seeing regarding internet privacy and internet freedom, and particularly that Republican law now allowing your ISP to sell your browsing history to advertisers. Disaster, absolute and total disaster.